Today's the first day of the rest of your life. If you're not happy with what's come before, then do something to change to make tomorrow better. We always have that opportunity going forward to create the life of our dreams.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Rocky Lalvani. Previously, episode 1209 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 3 months, 17 days, 14 hours, and 30 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. That was then. This is now. Rocky, how are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. How are you?
I am as excellent as can be. Wow, what a great conversation. I was listening in preparation for this repeat episode, right? Well, is it a repeat episode? No, it's probably not a repeat. It's the evolved episode, right? And Rocky, wow, you were doing some amazing things. How have things evolved with you today?
Things have evolved a lot since we talked over 2 years ago. Different direction in what I'm doing with my life, and I'm in complete control of everything I do now. So it's a lot of fun to be able to make the decisions you want and just grab life by the horns and go.
Well, let's go. Let's dig into that. Again, this was financial coaching. Of course, you were focusing on balancing great health, wonderful relationships, strong connection to God, give to serve others. Yeah, tell me, how are you doing that now?
So I'm continuing to do that. What I've kind of shifted is adding another focus, which was kind of an aha moment that occurred probably a little while after we chatted. People aren't so great with their money. What I didn't realize is how bad business owners were with their money. And so now I've kind of shifted my coaching to help business owners become more profitable. If you don't have profit in your business, it's hard to be able to do the things that you want to do and to be able to support your business systems.
I totally agree. Is this something like Mike McCallowitz's system?
You know what? It's Mike McCallowitz's system.
Oh, that's
exactly.
Amazing. Oh.
So I am a profit first professional, and I work with his organization. I run my own business separately, but I have a connection with him, and he has certified me. And then I have his entire team to also help me as I help the clients that I serve.
That's wonderful. You are someone that is consistently growing. I admire that. Let's dig into the Profit First system, please, because I've not had anyone on the podcast that has shared how that works. So please, let's do it.
So the first thing is to change the equation. Most people follow the standard generally accepted accounting principles, which is sales minus expenses equals profit, which means that profit comes last. It's a leftover. It's what your accountant tells you at the end of the year when he does your tax return and says, hey, you made a profit. And you ask him, where is that money? And he just laughs at you and says, you spent it. It's not a real number. And that's not good. So what we've done is change the equation to sales minus profit equals expenses. So profit comes first. And you pay yourself first, you pull that money out of the business, you make sure that you also pay yourself for your time in the business, as well as creating the profit. And by focusing on that up front, then we cut our expenses and we make sure that our business runs well. And one of the things that we do, there's a lot of different systems out there. Many of them are complicated. Many of them you have to go learn how to do them, and then you have to adapt to the system. This system actually works with the way you do things now. Most business owners look at their bank account and go, do I have money? Can I afford something? And we continue to do that. We make some changes behind the scenes. So we use something called Parkinson's Law. So Parkinson's Law basically says that whatever the resources you have towards a particular task, you will use them up. So, for example, if you have a project to do and you have a month to do the project, you'll take a month. But if you have that same project and we say we need it by tomorrow morning, you'll figure out a way to do it tomorrow morning. Same thing with money, right? If you have $10,000 to spend on a project, you'll spend 10,000. If you have 1,000 to spend on a project, you'll spend 1,000. So we leverage that along with putting in some systems behind the scenes to make sure that you pay yourself first and that you're profitable. And you should be. If you're going to work hard in your business, you should reap the rewards of that work, and you should have the fuel to live the life of your dreams, which I still talk about all those other things that you mentioned earlier.
Of course, you've been building, right? It's not as though you are taking the roof off every time, right? It feels as though there's this house that you've built, if you would, this structure that the foundation went down with the personal finances, right? Then you got the coaching where you're helping others, and in so doing, it has helped clarify the thing that is core to you and how you can help others. So I love it. I love what you're doing. Where's the best place for those that are listening to connect with you?
So if you'd like to connect, there's two great places to connect. If you'd like to talk about Profit First, the website is profitcomesfirst.com. And then if you'd just like to learn more about living a more inspired life, I have a podcast.
You should say a richer life. You should say a richer life,
right? The podcast is called Richer Soul. It's richersoul.com, or whatever podcast player that you are on. You can just type in the name and it should pop right on up.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Richer Soul podcast. Up to 158 episodes today, right? This guy just keeps going. How has your family been affected by everything that you're doing? How have they evolved because of what you've learned now?
So we kind of changed course with my kids. My kids were in a traditional private school. They were being classically educated. But then we learned, hey, maybe there's more. Maybe they can do more. And so they kind of got pulled out of school. They created their own homeschool routines, and they were actually able to kind of launch out into the world a little bit faster before going to college. And so they get a chance to try different things out and get more experiences because they have more time. They're not stuck in a classroom all day learning things that someone else decided they should learn, instead of learning the things that are actually important in life that we don't teach in schools, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I remember your daughter was being homeschooled when we spoke, and of course your son was coming up to enter into that space. How has it been though? So I'm asking because we're homeschooling my second son. He's just over 5, right? How has it been for you?
It's been amazing. So my son, because he left from the standard school, he actually just started taking college classes. He's looking to go towards engineering, and he's going to be graduating high school this year with 49 college credits.
Wow.
So he's going to be way ahead of the curve. So when he goes off to college, he has more time and more space to be able to explore and to work because he's not in a pressured situation.
You spoke about iron sharpening iron. How are you doing that right now? What are you using to ensure that, you're being sharpened?
Well, so I'm constantly challenging myself. I'm constantly challenging my beliefs. I'm constantly learning to get sharper. So that's one of the things that the reason I love my podcast and podcasts in general. It gives us a chance to have these conversations, to dig a little bit deeper, to have the aha moments, to change our underlying programming and say, hey, there's a better way to do this, and learn from others. And so I'm constantly doing that. What's the next step I can take? How can I improve myself just a little bit today? And doing that. So between podcasts, books, conversations, training programs, I'm constantly doing something.
How are you able to define the voice that urges you on, that voice that says, hey, you should do this?
You know what? It's just a natural habit for me. I mean, I just like, okay, what am I going to learn today? What am I going to do? What do I need to improve on? It's ingrained in me. It's just the way I'm wired. It's just my habit. I couldn't imagine just sitting there and not doing anything.
Do you think the Village University, which I refer to you coming across to the States when you were 2 years, and that community that surrounded because you spoke about on that conversation where your family would move every year and you're moving up, right? Do you think that village university, in air quotes, did define that voice as well?
I think it did. It showed me possibility. I grew up in an environment where everyone just expected you to be successful. It wasn't like, oh, will you? It was just the expectation. You're going to have success. The world is at your doorstep. Figure out your path and what you're going to do and go do it. And so I was constantly raised with that type of an attitude. And I knew from the beginning that success was possible because I saw people being successful. And so it was just the possibility was there. So yeah, I think that did have a big part of it.
The name Rocky, oh my, we got to visit the Rocky Steps when we were there, right? And being aligned by seeing the movies and then being on the steps and everyone else that was there was an entire energy. Today we see Rocky Sylvester Stallone being an older guy, right? Closer to death, if you would, though we never know if it's the young or the old. How do you interact with that conversation, the possibility that you could die today or tomorrow?
So that is the reality, right? And the other thing is we could live another 50 years. They're talking about life going on and on. So one of the things I want to do is if I'm going to live another 30 or 40 years, what do I need to do today to be healthy then? So working out, making sure I'm physically fit instead of kind of declining is improving. The second thing, kind of more to your purpose, is if I died today, would I have a regret? And the answer to that question is no. And so that's the bigger thing. Make sure if you've got regrets, go fix them now, because I think that's the number one thing that a lot of people face on their deathbed is a life of regrets. And that's a shame. So if you've got them, go do something to remove your regrets and move on. But yeah, so whatever happens, it happens. I can't control that, but I'll die with no regrets and I'll die happy.
My friend, as usual, it is such of a grand opportunity to call in and to hear that you've not given up, that you've continued on your path. Of course, it's evolved somewhat, but oh my, it is inspirational and motivational to hear that the fruit of such of a decision is what it is. So thank you for your service to humanity, Rocky. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I just want to let them know today's the first day of the rest of your life. If you're not happy with what's come before, then do something to change to make tomorrow better. We always have that opportunity going forward to create the life of our dreams.
Rocky, a pleasure, a treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.